members of the media, good afternoon, email. To the members of the media, welcome to this press briefing of the Democratic Party. As I indicated in my invitation to you, I wanted to apprise you of the position of the Democratic Party as far as the formation of the next government for St. Martin is concerned. In fact, earlier today, I informed board and candidates of the Democratic Party of these developments. And I know that the information will get out. There's nothing wrong with that. I just wanted to ensure that it gets out in the full context, and hence this press briefing. So again, welcome. In terms of the formation of the next government for St. Martin, the part up until and including the part of Cornelius, Democratic Party number 2 candidate, unannounced and unexpectedly signing a governing declaration with 7 up members, 7 up parliamentarians, that is, on October the 3rd, 2014. I presume all of that is public knowledge up until that part. In discussing with Cornelius and Leroy de Weaver, who was in on the aforementioned declaration, the one between Cornelius and the 7 parliamentarians of the UP, the possibility of the Democratic Party as a whole joining the UP, by that time also supported by Member of Parliament Mrs. Leona Marlin, former number 2 on the US Peace Slate, was discussed on several occasions. So in other words, the participation of the Democratic Party as a whole was discussed on several occasions. So on behalf of the Democratic Party, on October the 9th, the day before the installation of the Parliament of St. Martin, I signed with Formateur Heiliger an agreement to support the 7+1 declaration and to further discuss the details of such in the spirit of the declaration, namely that matters like integrity, which we champion as a party, would be high on government's agenda. The ministers would be appointed in consultation. Management and supervision of government-owned companies would be drastically overhauled, etc. That is the agreement signed, the way it was signed by the 7 up parliamentarians and MP Cornelius de Weaver. However, informally, it was agreed that with the DP's support of the 7+1 coalition, the nomination of 2 ministers would be the prerogative of the Democratic Party. The chair of Parliament would be for the Democratic Party, and we were negotiating a post in the Netherlands. In fact, the initial scenario, as communicated to me by Leroy de Weaver, was for the Democratic Party to nominate candidates for the post of TIAT, Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transportation and Telecommunication, and VSA, Public Health, Labor and Social Affairs, or Education, so one of the 2 latter. When I took over the negotiations, the above seemed not to be true, and DP, who, in the words of Formateur Heiliger, joined the bandwagon late, was offered the posts of VSA, Labor, Public Health, Labor and Social Affairs, and Education. Several discussions ensued between Cornelius and myself and Theo, resulting eventually in the submission by myself on behalf of the Democratic Party of 2 names for the post of VSA and Education, Mr. Emile Lee and Mrs. Yvette Hawley, respectively. For the post in The Hague, one of the posts in The Hague rather, Perry Heerling's name was submitted. This official submission by me on behalf of the Democratic Party to the formateur, with whom, by the way, I had signed the declaration on behalf of the Democratic Party, was done on October the 28th and copied to Cornelius, who was off island at the time. For at least 2 weeks, it was not possible for me to hear from the formateur. I heard absolutely nothing as far as the formation was concerned, despite numerous calls, emails, and messages. On November the 10th, I received at my office a copy of a letter submitted to the formateur by MP Cornelius de Weaver nominating 2 persons for the same ministries above, these persons being Mr. Leroy de Weaver and Mrs. Rita Gums, respectively. Again, after several futile attempts to contact the formateur, Mr. Heiliger, I finally received an answer late last night that in essence says that Corney's submission is in line with the agreement of the 7+1 and that he, the formateur, hoped that the 2 of us, Cornelius and I, could discuss this matter. It must be made clear that the scenario described above does not contribute to anything that I signed off with the formateur for in the first place, namely the opportunity for the Democratic Party to have some say in the direction of this country, or the direction this country is taking, and a say in the appointment of persons who will govern this country. When I saw the above, in other words, the say in the direction that our country will take, and a say in the persons who will govern our country, it is my opinion that I somewhat compromised my own position and that of others. And I'll tell you why I feel that way. We faced the criticism of my decision to join, and we were labeled by some as the same as the rest, and even more hurtful, some also hurled the accusation at us, at me and at us, of ulterior motives and ulterior gains. I took this all in stride with a conviction that even with our small part as a party, we could co-steer our island as we face a multitude of challenges, and the need for men and women of goodwill and character is so very great at this time. In the past hours, day or so maybe, I have toiled with the question, Quo Vadis St. Martin? Where are we going, St. Martin? In my opinion, right now, as I speak to you, the answer to that question is bleak. It is the time for us as a party to take a step backwards, to observe and to analyze. Your question will rightfully be, could rightfully be rather, and what now? Firstly, I believe I should make the position of President of Parliament available. While it was not part of the agreement signed, I believe that this is the right thing to do. In my opinion, and in our opinion I can say, even in politics there are, or there should be, some ethics. After receiving a copy of Cornelius' letter to the formateur and questioning the formateur, he, Mr. Heiliger, as I stated earlier, reverted back to the initial agreement signed between the 7+1 members of Parliament, and not my agreement with him on behalf of the Democratic Party of October the 9th. In our opinion, that does not bode well for the Democratic Party. That is our conclusion. As far as MP Cornelius de Weaver is concerned, in keeping with our Articles of Incorporation, a formal letter will be sent to him. He will be given the time to react, and then we will take a position as far as that is concerned. Again, I want to conclude by indicating what I started out to say. The reason for this press briefing is to inform you of what our members, our board and candidates have been informed of as far as the developments are concerned. You also know that I am not one who like to speak about persons and mention names, but I needed to do this given the matter that is involved. And that is where we stand right now, and I thought it important for you at this stage to know of the position of the Democratic Party. as far as all of this is concerned.
Madam Prime Minister, you said that you are planning to, or your intention is to give up the post as of President of Parliament, make it available to the current coalition. Are you telling us that the DP, or you in person, is pulling out from this coalition? Are you pulling out?
As I said before, Bibi, we signed, and I never really shared that document itself with the public. I briefed you on it in my last press briefing. But we signed off with very specific objectives to the agreement that was signed. As I said before, in that agreement, albeit very brief, matters like integrity, the issue of government-owned companies, about which so much has been said and continues to be said, are matters that we can subscribe to. It's on the basis of that we signed off. In goodwill, I signed off on behalf of the Democratic Party with the formateur. Again, not hearing anything and still not having heard anything formally, I needed to draw some conclusions on the actions by the other member of the Democratic Party, MP Cornelius de Weaver. I expect, hopefully in the course of this afternoon and this evening, to receive a formal reply to my communication to the formateur. And then my official position regarding the coalition will be taken. But I think it wouldn't be the right thing to say what I'm saying and then forget totally or leave untouched the fact that I was appointed by basically the same persons that I refer to in my communique to the post of President of Parliament. I think it's the right thing to do and make that position available, given all that I just indicated. So again, a formal decision regarding our support for the coalition, of course, will be taken and communicated to the formateur. But for right now, he has been informed that I will be making the position of President of Parliament available.
About the letter that you plan to send to Minister Cornelius de Weaver, MP Cornelius de Weaver, is it to ask him to resign officially from the Democratic Party?
We will, of course, mention the fact that in his submission to the formateur, following an official submission by the Democratic Party, with his knowledge, does not constitute handling in good faith as a member of the Democratic Party. That is our conclusion. That would be our conclusion on the basis of the fact that we have. As I said before, he would have to respond and a decision will be taken. That's the procedure outlined in our Articles of Incorporation.
Madam Prime Minister, last week Thursday, you held a press briefing. After that press briefing, I asked you a specific question. And that question, I'm sure you remember, because I've been hearing that the formateur is indicating that he did not sign an agreement with the Democratic Party. He signed an agreement with Cornelius de Weaver, and you and Madam Marlin just joined this government to give support. Today's reality is telling us, well, the formateur is following the first agreement that he signed with de Weaver, and your agreement, which we haven't seen, he's not respecting it.
Well, you can see that, Bibi, and as I said, if I had signed the agreement as MP Cyril Westcott Williams, that's what I would say. I signed it on behalf of the Democratic Party. That's what is stated in the agreement.
Was somebody drunk when this agreement was signed? Because you were saying it was signed on behalf of the Democratic Party.
Well,
somebody could not be in their right mind.
Let that be answered with giving you a copy of the agreement that I'm talking about.
Yeah. Madam Prime Minister, in the press conference of the Holland House, you also mentioned what you just stated.
That's correct.
That no one can do any negotiation on the part of the DP.
That's correct.
So that's what you're standing by.
That's correct.
Madam Prime Minister, are you feeling a bit like betrayed with all the situation that's going on?
I have been in politics too long not to expect and anticipate the unexpected. But when I mention that even in politics there should be some ethics, I'm talking about basic ethics like respect, communication, all our candidates signed off to the articles of incorporation of the party, which are very specific as far as positions of the Democratic Party is concerned. A pledge and a declaration of agreement was signed off by all our candidates. And back then, I shared this this information with all of you. You knew exactly what our candidates signed off to. But again, I don't know if I would say betrayed. You in politics is a rough terrain. I wouldn't say a rough game. It's a rough terrain. And as I mentioned in my communication earlier to you, we took a lot of flack. We took a lot of flack for seeking the involvement of the party. That's what we did. We looked at it carefully. Not everybody agreed with us. That's obvious. But we took it because we believe, one, we have a contribution to make to this country. We feel passionate about that contribution and the way of making that contribution. We feel passionate about the matters affecting this country. And for that, we took the step that we took. But it can never be at all cost. It can never be with total disregard for the people who are involved, myself and others of the Democratic Party.
But certainly under these conditions you cannot remain a part of this coalition. How do you see that?
No, that would be indeed a difficult sell.
No, it's impossible. Let's be clear.
Because you made your seat available for Parliament, and you don't have no minister, so how are you going to support such a government?
No, I didn't say that we're continuing to support. I did indicate that my negotiations have been ongoing with the formateur, and I expect a formal answer from him. That's where I stand right now. What I'm telling you,
Prime Minister, but the formateur.
Andrew,
Sorry.
what I'm telling you, of course, has been communicated to the formateur. Questions has been put to him with respect to the letter that he received from Cornelius de Wever when in meetings that included the formateur and Mr. de Wever, it was made very clear that it's the Democratic Party in meetings around this very same table where we're sitting today, in which they all were present. They all were present.
On October 9th.
No, that's after October 9th. October 9th, we signed off the declaration, and then on the 10th, you had the installation of Parliament. Following that, now talking specifically about candidates and positions, right in here.
Let me ask you this, as blanket as I can be. Do you feel that you were played?
I must say I am never played. Attempts are often made.
But in this case...
To play me, no, hear me out, to play me. However, I go into things with my eyes wide open, wide open. Even today, just before this, someone asked me, they said, Prime Minister, I don't even have to ask you this because I know that you did. I know that you seriously considered this move now, what I have just communicated to you, and that's a fact. That's a fact.
Is it correct that the formateur has submitted his list of candidate ministers today to the governor?
I heard that a couple of minutes ago, in fact.
Well, I read it. The NSA reported that.
Okay, I heard it a couple of minutes ago. I have no confirmation from him, but I heard it a couple of minutes ago.
And you don't know all the names that you mentioned two, but you don't know the others.
I don't know the others, but I would suspect, given his lack of response to me, I would suspect that it includes the two submitted by MP de Wever.
Madam Prime Minister, now that we are at this another impasse, as Prime Minister, what can you tell us is the next move, because the party with the major seats right now does not have enough seats in order to govern.
Yeah, they do.
So they do have enough to go.
Yeah.
So then automatically, no matter what you say, they can still continue.
Of course.
As Prime Minister, caretaker Prime Minister, can you now call to dissolve Parliament and call for a new election?
No,
That is actually not the issue that I was getting to.
No,
But
no.
guide us to exactly
No,
what
but-
we can expect.
Okay,
You as prime
so you have this situation, which is a Democratic Party step. We took a step with respect to the formation of a coalition, and now we take a step in another direction in terms of that support and that participation. However, I guess the formation of the government would go ahead. If what we understand, you did and I did, that the names have been submitted, they are now with the governor, and the governor would have to make his decision as to how he will proceed and what that would mean or not mean in terms of the instruction that was given to him. That is left to be seen. We will continue to stand up for the things for St. Martin that we believe in and against the things that we do not believe in, not because of this local situation that we have here means that the Democratic Party will change its stance as far as other matters are concerned. For example, the principal stance that we have with respect to the instruction, for example, that doesn't change because of politics. That's a stance that we have taken and will continue to hold.
But there's still here between the lines, if I may say, that you're going to step out of this coalition. You go in another direction. Do I misunderstand that?
No, absolutely not. I just, the only caveat there is the fact that I believe that I am entitled to a formal response by the formateur to start with.
That's what you're waiting
Yes,
for before
yeah.
you take a formal decision.
Yes, exactly, and respond, yeah. But as I said before, I believe that the presidency of Parliament is something, albeit not stated with so many words, but it came with an understanding, with the same thing that I signed off on, and that is why the minute I come and put this out there, then I should also make that call. That's how I feel.
So as of today, you are no longer the President of Parliament?
Well, that's a fact.
Tomorrow there's a meeting scheduled, I believe. Who will chair it off? The second?
The Vice President?
The second person, which is Leona Marlin, I think.
Until this information goes officially into Parliament, an official letter into Parliament, I would still have to chair that meeting, for example, the one tomorrow.
Okay, let me ask you this, Mr. De Weaver, when I said De Weaver, Leroy De Weaver, how many years have you been a member of the Democratic Party?
I would have to check that out. A long time, just off the top of my head.
Based on your knowledge, what knowledge does Mr. Leroy De Weaver has on health? Health, labor?
This is as far as I would go, Bibi, in discussing persons, personalities, qualifications, and whatever else happened.
What would Emil's ministry have been?
VSA.
VSA,
Yes.
yeah. It's a shame you missed out on economic affairs. That would have been the ideal ministry for.
Yeah, that's true. And for a while, we were under the assumption that was the case.